My name is Kayla Hubbard, and I am the Science Assistant with NSF's Arctic Sciences section. Liz did a really great job of going over all of the housekeeping things, but just one more time, please remain muted until the question and answer portion of this presentation. But at that point, we do encourage you to unmute yourself and ask us questions. That's what this office hour is here for us to engage with you and vice versa. Throughout the course of this really brief presentation we're going to do, please feel free to type any questions in the chat that might come up as we go. No need to hold off into typing into the chat until the end. Additionally, as we mentioned, opportunities, solicitations, any resources, we will be posting those links in the chat for you to have as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to our section head, Jen Mercer, to get us started.
Thanks, Kayla. As Kayla mentioned, I'm Jennifer Mercer. I'm the section head for the Arctic Sciences section within the Office of Polar Programs here at NSF. First things first, we want to welcome new faces. Some of these are familiar faces, but in new roles to the Office of Polar Programs. So Kate Ruck has joined us as a federal employee and a program manager for the Arctic Research Support and Logistics Program. Liam Frank has joined us as a program director for Arctic Social Sciences. Beverly Walker works in our front office within the Office of Polar Programs, but is also currently serving as the interim executive secretary for IARPC. Katie Smith has joined the Arctic Research Support and Logistics team as a contractor. And then on the Antarctic side, we have Andrew Titmus is actually in the front office in the environmental as an environmental program manager. Mark Tunstall has joined us as a station manager for the Antarctic Infrastructure and Logistics Program, and Rebecca Gast has joined us as a program director for the Antarctic Sciences Organisms and Ecosystems Program. So lots of familiar and new faces in OPP, and I hope that you get a chance to visit with those folks as you either here today or in other venues. Next slide, please. Okay, we've presented these next two slides in the past in our office hours, so I'm not going to go through them in detail. They will be posted online on the IARPC Collaborations website, and you can view them in the recording as well. But to give everyone a broader context of the whole Arctic Sciences section, we do have multiple programs that we work within or across, however you look at it, depending on how you look at it. And so a little bit of introduction to who's associated with which program. We have a AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellow, that's Shoko Shinbrat, who's been with us for a while now and mostly works with the AON program, but certainly across the whole section. Kayla, you've already met, who's our science assistant. And then we do have two program specialists, Linda and Angela. And then you are probably well familiar with our Research Support and Logistics Program, which is currently managed by Renee Crane, Frank Rack, Kate Ruck, and Katie Smith. And they're there to work out all of your logistics needs, as well as oversee all of our facilities, vessels, aircraft operations, environmental compliance, and all those facets that go into field work. We have an Arctic Policy Program. This is one that folks may not be as aware of as our other programs, and that policy program supports short and long-term efforts to enhance communication, coordination, and collaboration across the research enterprise, and Colleen Strawhacker is our point of contact for that program. We have a couple of cross-cutting programs that are very prominent within the Arctic Sciences section, and we work closely with, and that's of course Lisa Rahm, who oversees our Polar Education Program, and Alan Pope, who oversees our Polar Cyber Infrastructure Program. Next slide, please. Okay, and then these are our four what I call our core science programs, and that's Arctic Natural Sciences, which is overseen by Rainer Ammon, Colleen Hafke, and Mark Stieglitz. The Arctic Observing Network Program, or AON, as it's well known, overseen by Roberto Delgado and Olivia Lee. Arctic System Science, which is managed by Greg Anderson, who's currently actually on detail to another part of NSF. So if you have been reaching out to Greg, I'm sure he's responsive to you anyway, as Greg is, but it would be better to reach out to either Colleen Strawhacker or Kelly Brunt for the time being, as we expect Greg to be on detail at least through the winter, and we hope to have him back next summer. And then our Arctic Social Sciences program is managed by Erica Hill and Liam Frank. And next slide, please. Okay, and this is a reminder, the usual reminder that we are a mix of federal employees and IPAs, or rotators, affectionately known as rotators. And those are the folks who come in from academic positions to serve as program directors within NSF, in particular in our section, for a term of 1 to 3 years, sometimes extending to 4 years, but that's the maximum for a rotator program. So you can look at this Dear Colleague letter. You can reach out to myself or others to ask questions about the IPA program, but we're always interested in hearing from people who maybe have an interest in working alongside of us. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to move into talking about current funding opportunities within the section. And you can go to the next slide. Well, actually, go back for a second. We might as well describe the photo here. This is an aerial view of Summit Station, and in a little while, the RSL team, the Research Support and Logistics team, is going to talk about our efforts to recapitalize the infrastructure at Summit Station. So keep that in mind and take a snapshot of this picture in your memory. All right, next slide now. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Roberto to talk about our big funding opportunities here.
Great, thank you, Jen. Hello, everyone. My name is Roberto Delgado. Again, I co-direct the Arctic Observing Net program alongside Dr. Olivia Lee. Our primary opportunity is the Arctic Research Opportunities Program solicitation, which welcomes proposals for general Arctic science, as well as research networking activities, conferences, and large project support across the aforementioned core program areas that Jen mentioned. While we do not have specific deadlines, we do encourage you to reach out to program officers with your concepts and ideas before submitting to ensure your proposed research activities align with the scope and goals of our programs. I'll also mention the Cross-Directorate Navigating the New Arctic, or NNA program, which for the current fiscal year 2023 has a deadline of February 8th next year. This program supports highly integrated collaborative research and incubator projects, studying how natural, human-built, and social systems affect Arctic change and how a changing Arctic will affect local and global systems. Please stay on the lookout for several information and outreach webinars in the next month for additional details. Erica will now mention several early career and education opportunities.
Hi, I'm Erica Hill, and I'm a program officer in Arctic Social Sciences along with Liam Frank. We'd like to just highlight a handful here of early career teacher and veteran opportunities. First is the postdoctoral research fellowship. This is for folks who have just received their PhD or within the last couple of years. This provides 2 years of support for targeted research questions in any field of Arctic science. The Arctic Doctoral Dissertation Research Grants are for graduate students who are ready to begin their field research or their collections research and have an advisor co-apply with them. We have 2 deadlines for that. The next one is December 15th. We have 2 supplement opportunities. These are opportunities if you already have an award from NSF in GEO from OPP or from another GEO directorate. If you want to involve teachers, either high school teacher or K-12 teachers, or even community college teachers in your research, we can provide you a supplement to facilitate that. We also have a veterans supplement if you want to, or have a candidate veteran who is a student, a grad student who could benefit from opportunities in the field or in your lab. We can discuss that with you. Finally, we have the pathways into Earth, Ocean, Polar, and Atmosphere and Geospace Sciences, the GeoPaths program. And this is just another mechanism for integrating students, teachers, and let's see, both K-12 students and undergraduate students. And actually, I think there's grad students in here too. Basically, all of these are opportunities for early career folks from K-12 teachers and students all the way through to grad students and postdocs to get field and lab experience and supported through NSF. You're welcome to take a look at any of these opportunities, and there are contact names and emails on the page for each of these opportunities. You can also just reach out to us generally, and we can help you out that way. Next slide.
So hi, I'm Alan. I'm the program officer for Polar Cyber Infrastructure, and I have a few different slides to talk to you about. The first is making sure that you all know there is a new Polar programs data/code/camp sample policy. The link is on the bottom of the slide there. You can Google NSF 22-106. But the point here is that it shouldn't be anything that's shocking and new to the community. We're putting out this new policy that really reflects where a lot of the research community already is in terms of ethically open data access. Some of the new things to note is that it's not just data, as some people have thought about it. It also includes samples and code. We also expect you to be using long-lived repositories, which is not a change, but some data management plans come in that rely on self-publication and things like that, and that won't fly anymore. If you have any more questions, please do read the DCL itself. There's also a further repositories and resources page on top of that. And yeah, we're excited about seeing this implemented, and it's valid for any proposals that are submitted from now moving forwards. Yeah, next slide, please. So I also want to mention a few cyber funding proposals. And when we say cyber, I basically mean anything data and computing related. One that you might have seen before is the cyber training solicitation out of the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure. This is a new updated solicitation. Again, it's about building capacity for advanced computing in research communities. And I put advanced in air quotes because it's disciplinary appropriate advanced computing. So if it means that it's computing that's important for your discipline, it is relevant. So there's that. The deadline is January. There's a cyber infrastructure for sustained scientific innovation. So if you need to build tools, platforms, things like that, there's a deadline for that in December 16th. They're actually having a webinar for that program right now. So if you're here, you're not seeing it, but it is being recorded, and the slides and recording will also be shared on the NSF website. There's an open Dear Colleague letter for high throughput computing resources, as well as an open Dear Colleague letter for supporting data and sample reuse in polar research. And next slide. To help you with that data and sample reuse, I want to make sure that the Arctic research community is fully aware of what resources there are in terms of data management and existing data access. I mentioned it before, there's a new repository and resource page with new considerations for data management plans, as well as discipline-specific repositories and other resources. The Arctic Data Center is your best first stop for NSF-supported Arctic research data in particular, but there's a whole bunch of other tools there about building data management plans, workshops, training materials, data portals, things like that. So please do check it out. They have a couple applications open for trainings right now. And then there's also the Polar Geospatial Center, which has data products, geospatial data products in particular, and can facilitate access to high resolution satellite imagery, in addition to providing support for that and providing training opportunities as well. So next slide, I'll hand it off.
Thanks, Alan. And now we're going to hand it off to RSL, which is Arctic Research Support and Logistics Group, to give you some updates on the next field season planning, and as Jen alluded to, a little bit of what's happening or going to be happening at Summit Station.
Hi, I'm Kate Ruck, and I'm with the RSL group. So we just kind of wanted to give everybody a heads up about what we're thinking about COVID for next year. We've been pretty conservative in the past, and that'll be changing in the future. So our plans are still in development. This is the time of year that we're working on the annual program plan for next year. But we do know that we are going to be moving away from quarantines in the program and treating COVID as more of an endemic disease to be managed with vaccinations and testing. So, but with that stated, travelers should always be aware of the national, state, local, and tribal restrictions to the places that they'll be traveling and doing field work in. And then research teams are also going to be responsible for responding to an outbreak in the field. And to mitigate that, we're really just encouraging everyone to have a written protective plan that describes the mitigation and it ensures to document informed consent for all the responsible institutions and team members. Frank, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'll just say that Tulick Field Station has updated their travel policies to go to Tulick, and people should check on their website for those updated policies because they do involve pre-planning and other requirements.
Yeah, and anything that will be finalized for next season will be posted on the Battelle Arctic Gateway, which I just put into the chat, so people can look to there for updates through the year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renee Crane. I'm a program manager in the Arctic Research Support and Logistics Program with Kate and Frank. And I want to thank everyone who's joined us who complied with our previous policies for COVID-19 mitigation. We know that it has been a burden, and we are, as Kate and Frank said, looking at ways to make it a little easier to get to the field in the future based on where we are with the disease now. So anyway, I did want to express my thanks for people who have been so cooperative. So I want to talk for a minute about Summit Station. It's our research station at the summit of the Greenland ice sheet. And some of you may be familiar with it. We have here what we have is just a schematic of where the existing station is now. And you can see the skiway where we used skied aircraft to service the station. And up in the upper part, you can see an arrow pointing to the new location. So Summit is a high and dry research station with access to the troposphere for atmospheric studies. There's a deep ice core taken there and a lot of studies on snow and ice. And so the buildings we have there are old, and many were built as temporary buildings back in the late 80s and early 90s. And also the existing station location is in an area that's a bit lower and tends to fill in with snow through snowfall and drifting. And so our plan going forward is to spend 6 or 8 years recapitalizing the station at the new location on elevated platforms to get away from that drifting situation and to orient the station in the most advantageous direction for the prevailing winds. We will have systems at the station to support the types of research that are taking place now. We have already some astrophysics taking place at Summit Station in addition to the other types of research. And so it can be a home for many different varieties of scientists. We want the station to be flexible, be something that we could shut down in the wintertime or even just for 1 or 2 months at a time to reduce our costs and increase efficiency if needed. But it is a year-round station. There are 5 people stationed there right now, and they'll be there for a good chunk of the Arctic winter. We usually change the crew out a couple of times, so it's not quite as extreme as at South Pole, but very much focused on keeping the science going throughout the winter. So I'm open to questions if people have questions about Summit recapitalization, but that's something that you'll be hearing more about in the coming years as we start mobilizing material and people to make the recapitalization happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. And all of RSL. Now we'll move into chatting a little bit about Arctic community engagement. And to get us started on that, I will pass it off to our newest program officer, program director, Liam Frank in Arctic Social Sciences.
Liam, you're muted. Start over, please.
It's the new person. I just am so excited to be here with everyone. So thank you very much. Liam Frink, and I'm in Arctic Social Sciences and with Erica. And I want to talk to you a little bit. And first I want to say I'm in Las Vegas on the ancestral lands of the Southern Paiute. And I'm talking a little bit about our Arctic Community Engagement Initiative, which you may be familiar with. 2 really great resources to look at ethical engagement are the IARPC principles for ethical research, and also the ICC equitable and ethical engagement eight standards that they have. Those are really great to review. And also for us, the ACE initiative encourages collaborations. These include research sites in their local and indigenous communities or their lands, and also community engagement and outreach and co-production of knowledge. And I want just to briefly talk to you a little bit about that as we see the continuum of engagement with partners and research. And we see this as a continuum of research practices. The first of sorts is, of course, is consultation. And we really want to get across the message to everyone that requesting a support letter from community partners without timely and thoughtful consultation is not tolerated. And you can actually, if there is something going on, you can contact Jen Mercer, our head, directly and talk to her or any of us as well. We really want to emphasize that. And we also really understand that this is a continuum of interactions that we have with communities and local partners, starting with consultation at the very basic, and then moving into more co-management, which probably many people are familiar with, and community-based participatory research. Both of these methodologies are, in essence, science-led with partnerships, and that there are clear outcomes and benefits for communities that are really set up while the program is being put together. And then we have the penultimate is the co-production of knowledge, and that is not every research program has that, but the ones that do really work together with partners to coordinate ontologies, ways of thinking, epistemologies, different ways of seeing sciences, right? And axiologies, those different ways of valuing nature and understanding the world. And so these are really well-coordinated, well-partnered projects that go forward. And I will now cede to Colleen, who will talk more.
Thank you, Liam. So I am going to talk a little bit about broader impacts. And just a reminder, I think this is actually one of the more common questions we get from both PIs and panelists and reviewers about kind of the relationship of broader impacts to intellectual merit. How do we evaluate broader impacts? What even are broader impacts? So this is just something we wanted to quickly touch on to kind of open up the conversation a bit more. So just a reminder that proposals are evaluated based on both broader impacts and intellectual merit. I think we get a lot of questions about like which percentage leads more to kind of a successful proposal. Is it 50-50 or is it 70-30 intellectual merit? There is no correct answer to that question, but just that, when we, some of our best broader impacts that we see in proposals are integrated into the project itself. These are not two separate things. Often they're integrated. So if you have a proposal that's thinking about coastal effects in Alaska, often this has very important implications for people living on the coast, right? So very broadly, just thinking about how does your project improve and help to, think about benefit society. This could mean broadening participation in science. It could be better science communication. It could be education. And that we're evaluating broader impacts just like we evaluate intellectual merit. So if you're saying you're going to do outreach to a K-12 school, for instance, we would like to see a budget and a plan and a timeline and probably a letter of collaboration from that school. So this is a very broad topic. There are a lot of resources out here. I've included one resource from NSF that just kind of gives a quick, top 5 tips that can kind of send you to read more about that. But just, a quick overview about the importance of broader impacts in your proposal. And with that, I will hand it over to my colleague, Olivia Lee.
Thanks, Colleen. So I'm Olivia Lee. I co-manage the Arctic Observing Network program with Roberto Delgado. I don't really want to go through in detail all of these Arctic community resources. The idea is to share that there are additional resources that could support you with your research. For instance, the Arctic Research Consortium with the United States can help with providing networking opportunities, helping you share information from your products of research, outreach as well. All of the links again are being put in the chat, and on this slide, you will also find the names of program officers that you could contact if you had some questions about each of these resources. Hopefully you're all familiar with IARPC Collaboration's website. Liz Weinberg manages that. We think this is a great opportunity to connect not just your NSF funded research, but with research that's being conducted by other federal agencies and academics. The Patel Arctic Gateway was already mentioned in the presentation of the RSL, so they support your research support logistics. NNA Community Office provides opportunities not just for networking amongst NNA-funded PIs, but potentially those of you who are interested in future NNA proposals. For those of you in the early career stage, community office, and then the OPP repository and resources webpage that Alan had already introduced. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Ecker. I am one of the communication specialists in the Office of Polar Programs. So I just wanted to send out a reminder. We do have a quarterly newsletter. Next one's coming out in the next 2 weeks or so. It's a great place to get the latest information about what's going on in the office. We also are always looking to highlight the research as it comes out and just cool stories from the field. So please do let us know. The email address oppcoms@nsf.gov goes to myself and to my colleague Terry. And if you send us anything that you have going on, we would love to hear about it and figure out how it can be amplified. So that is it.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. This concludes our little presentation portion of the office hour. But before we move on to Q&A, I do want to highlight that we, as program officers and the Arctic Sciences section, are here to help serve you. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the program officers if any questions or concerns come up. We do want to work with you and help make the science that's happening in the Arctic as successful as it absolutely can be. So thank you for joining us. I will open the floor up to questions at this time. You can ask questions in a variety of different ways. You can raise your hand in Zoom. You can also type questions in the chat if you would prefer to do it that way. But the rest of this time is now yours to engage with the section.
Thanks, Kayla. Maybe I'll start with a comment that was in the chat there. First of all, I want to try to pronounce your name. Is it Kana Ichuakiak? How bad did I do?
It's Kana Ichakiak, but you did
Kana
great.
Ichakiak. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, close. Sorry. I was looking at your name earlier, even before you made the comment. And I was like, I want to learn how to pronounce that. Thank you. Thanks for your comment too, because as Liam mentioned, there was a subtle, maybe subtle, maybe not so subtle line on the slide that Liam presented that basically says we're not going to tolerate this anymore of people reaching out and saying, hey, can you send me a letter of support? I've got this proposal, but I've never talked to you before. And I feel that we have been making this point for a long time. We have been educating the communities in many ways. We're at the point where it's just not acceptable to do that. And I've been at some meetings lately where I've heard both in Alaska and in Greenland where this practice is still happening, hopefully by nobody on the phone here. So just, you can spread the word to your colleagues. And I've started to say to people who've told me this, like my Greenlandic colleagues, I want to know, send me an email and I'll talk with the program officers who we think this, PI might be working with, and we'll reach out to them individually and work on educating them and talking with them. So it's beyond time where we can say it, but now we need to get behind it and act on it. So thank you for your comment in the chat. And I just wanted to reinforce that we've been spreading this message, and I was disappointed to hear that it's still happening at such a level that it is. So no longer, I want to hear directly from you and communities if this is happening. And we will work with individuals that are continuing that practice, which is not acceptable. So thank you. Yes, we know. This is what they're doing. Yes, thank you. They asked for the letter in 2 days, and that's, again, not acceptable. So so just reach out to us so we know when a person is doing this, and I will get involved. It's just we're done with that as far as I'm concerned. So that is I wanted to reinforce that because that was a line in there, and Liam is as Liam said, he's working in Arctic social sciences, but also taking leadership on our Arctic community engagement initiative so that we have a person who's advancing our practices in those areas too. And we're really excited about that. And Liam has a lot of experience working with Alaska communities. So now we can open it up to other questions and comments. And there is a question here. Will there be NNA RU supplemental funding still available for next spring? Colleen or somebody else associated with NNA, do you want to take that one?
Yes, Ming, stay tuned. We will have some guidance for you within the next couple of weeks, okay? Thank you for the question about NNA.
Good. Other questions or comments? I mean, feel free to just come on, turn your camera on and say hello to us, especially if you haven't met some of the program officers. They're some very familiar faces in here for me and others that I don't know that well. So feel free to just say hello even if you don't have a question. Otherwise, we'll sit here because awkward silence, as my team knows, is one of my favorite things. So yes, Kana, right? It's
Kana.
Kana. Okay.
Kana,
Yep.
I'm from Northwest Alaska, but I'm a professor at Virginia Tech. And at any rate, I've been thinking about doing the the career award and doing it through this office since I do work in the Arctic. And one of the things that's kind of tough with the kind of work that people who are actually engaged in Indigenous co-production of knowledge and work is that like awards like the career award, like you have to be like, I'm a single entity, individual working in this, like doing this one thing for years, but it doesn't necessarily balance with how the value system that your program and communities like communities up in the Arctic really work together as far as like wanting to be partners in the research, but in meaningful and like OPI kind of ways, but you can't do that with a career award. So it's kind of this, I feel like I'm in a bit of a conundrum, and I know this is a specialty question, but it's somebody that like works really hard to put these values into practice and to show others how to do that as well as part of my research agenda. It's like when the system doesn't support it, it's really hard to get early career people to actually do this work. So that's a comment /
Yep.
sort of question.
It's a great comment / question. Thank you for asking it and bringing that to our attention. And I see, first of all, people are asking about your cat in the chat, and Erica's got her cat up there as well, but she's also got her hand up. So I'm hoping that Erica wants to take the first stab at responding to your comments. Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, and thanks for the question and the comment. I think there is definitely room in the career for the kind of work that you're talking about. You are absolutely right that the career is really targeted at enhancing you as a scholar and positioning you as a scholar, but part of the work of positioning you as a scholar to make major transformational change in your discipline can be community engagement and your work with communities. So I've handled several career applications and a couple of successful proposals, and I would be happy to talk with you more about how the career opportunity might be a good fit for you. So feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks, Erica. Do any other program officers want to add on to that? No, okay. Olivia, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick too, Kina. I think it's valuable that you bring up the whole idea of how people evaluate these proposals. And as program officers, we really take a lot of care now in considering not just the, academic expertise of potential reviewers or panelists, but we really want to have expertise for people who understand the value of engaging with communities respectfully, how to appropriately conduct co-production efforts. So we are always looking for more people to include in the review process, and we always encourage people to please respond, even if you can't review and you're asked to review, to suggest alternate reviewers who you think have the relevant expertise. And that way they become part of who we rely on as the experts of your peers to review proposals that may fall outside the box of your traditional academic types of proposals.
Thanks, Olivia. Okay, well, again, thanks for that question. And I strongly encourage you to connect with Erica and some of the other program officers as well. I think they'd be very happy to have a discussion with you. I see Colleen and Liam nodding their heads too. So please do reach out. There is a question in the chat from Tasha Snow. Is there any plan for the future to make dual anonymous peer review for grant proposals? It seems to make a big difference in the outcomes of panels in terms of diversity and inclusion. Panels without dual anonymous peer reviews seem to have a lot of bias play into them with no poor intent, both from ad hoc reviews and panelists from my experience as an early career. That is also a great question. I know that NASA has been trialing these dual anonymous peer reviews, and I'm not sure where we stand within NSF on that, although it's a concept that I've always been really intrigued by and interested in. So I also will turn to our program officers to see if in any of your working groups if this has come up lately. Colleen, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've been in discussions with other program officers here at NSF about it. There's certainly curiosity about how it would work and interest in learning more. So recently I actually reached out to a program officer at NASA who has conducted a dual anonymous peer review and asked him if he would be willing to come give us a seminar just to talk with our group about it so we could learn more. So hopefully we can get that set up soon. I think it's certainly something we could all learn a little bit more about at this stage.
Thanks, Colleen. Other questions? Erica, do you have a question? Just kidding.
Actually, I just sort of like to make a plug for folks reaching out directly to program officers. If you have an idea, but you're not maybe sure of the best fit for it, we are happy to meet for 20 minutes or half an hour on Zoom with you. We also really appreciate getting one-pagers, sort of brief summaries of your project idea ahead of time. Feel free to just email us. You don't need to be you don't need to have received an NSF award in the past to reach out to us and get a Zoom meeting. We want to meet you, and sometimes we can help you navigate NSF. We know it can be sort of a scary place from the outside. So reach out. Our emails are all on the OPP webpage. So
thanks, Erica. That's really important. And I would like to emphasize, we have a really, really dedicated team of program officers who are very approachable and want to help, have conversations with you. So it doesn't matter, like Erica said, what stage of career you're at. Like I said, some of you, I recognize names and faces on here. Some of you are new to us, but we like to hear from our research community and have discussions with potential applicants for grants. So this is a very approachable group, and I'm really proud of the work we do. So please do reach out. And Colleen is introducing herself over there. She forgot in the chat. So thanks, Colleen, for that. Yes, Ming, the PowerPoint. Actually, I believe it'll be on the IARPC site. Liz, do you want to take that question in the chat there?
Yep, I will add the slides as well as all of the links that have been shared to the event page, and the recording will go there as well. So I'll drop that link in the chat again in just a sec.
Yeah, so not the NSF website, but in the IARPC collaborations space. We have a question over here from Cynthia Garcia Idol. She is asking, Curious, what is the most rewarding and most challenging part of being a program manager in the Arctic? Excellent question. Who wants to start with that? Colleen.
I love this question so much. Okay, so I'll get this kicked off. Okay, so it's the most rewarding thing for me, at least. I was on the PI side for a long time. And I think becoming a program officer, it was so wonderful to kind of see the breadth. You know, I was just writing my one proposal and submitting it to NSF and hoping for good news. But seeing just the breadth of excellent science, being able to see all of the ideas and proposals that come in has just been so fascinating. And part of that has been interactions with the community. I think that's one of my favorite part is just hearing what your ideas are and trying to work with you to make your proposal as competitive as possible. I think that's been the most rewarding part for me. Most challenging is that we have to say no a lot more than I would like. We never have enough money to fund all of the best science and the best proposals that we get in. So that part really stinks. And I think we all hate saying no and having to decline your proposals when we don't have enough money in hand. But that's kind of my initial thoughts. I would be interested to hear from my colleagues though about what they think.
Maybe I'll chime in because I started out as well, originally in OPP as a postdoc and then as a research scientist on the Antarctic side, and I moved over to the Arctic side. And I worked for a long time in the research support and logistics program, as well as managing some of our science portfolio. And I love making the field work happen. And then on the science portfolio side, I learned that I really like, helping people make their own science happen. So I went from making my science happen, like my field work in Antarctica, to making lots of people's science happen. And now also on, not just on the logistics side, but also from the science funding side. And so it's pretty cool to see. So I think that's just building on what Colleen said. And it's very rewarding in that sense to cultivate a community and help a lot of science get done. I would say that the challenging thing also for me is, so I oversee our full budget for the entire Arctic section, which includes your logistics dollars as well as your grant dollars. And so balancing that budget, and we never have enough money to do all the things we want to do, is the hardest thing, I think, because we have so many great things going on. So for me, that's probably the most challenging piece of it. Others? Liam.
Yeah, this is a really great question, and I'm brand new, and I'm an archaeologist, anthropologist, so it's kind of when you see an organization in many ways. And I was very much like Colleen talk. I've been really fortunate to work with communities in the YK Delta along the coast for about 20 years now in my career. Really, we've built my career together. And NSF has been a close partner in that, in my career, and building that together with the communities. So I'm really proud of that, doing a lot of community-based participatory research. And I think the most rewarding thing coming into the system is to see kind of behind the screen, right? Like how things work. And it's a little overwhelming with all the acronyms. I have to tell you, it is acronym soup. And that PPAG, it's like, wow. So I'm getting this really great appreciation for how difficult it really is to navigate all this system, right? And on the really rewarding part is I've been so impressed by the dedication, and I'm not just saying this because my peers are here, of the dedication of people to really interact in an ethical and just meaningful way to move research and education forward in the best way possible. I've just been so impressed by that. And so I've been so happy with my decision to join NSF because I'm a faculty member and I like where I am at UNLV, but this has been so rewarding. The challenging thing, it changes slow. And that is challenging, but I really see where it's moving. We're moving it. And especially with Arctic community engagement, we're really serious about really moving this forward. So thank you. Great question.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, we are a bunch of scientists who are serving as civil servants in a very bureaucratic environment. So keep that in mind when you're interacting with us. Renee.
You know, Liam said a lot of the things that I agree with are some of the best aspects of the job. And so I've been with NSF for more than 20 years. So we have the similar opinion of what, you know, makes it great to be a program manager. But I really enjoy interacting with the research community and helping them be successful. That includes new investigators and graduate students and postdocs, and also helping keep some of the senior researchers' labs going year after year and keeping that continuity. There's some contrast in the two aspects, but I think it's really important to recognize both the incoming and the sustaining of research. And I have really enjoyed how over the years we've been able to shape the policy and change the culture, and really with confidence say that we are making strides and, you know, actually accomplishing getting to our values being a part of the things that we fund and support and how we interact with each other and with communities, and promulgating that through IARPC and other bodies where NSF has influence. So in addition to funding science, I think just improving the culture of science, you know, really tackling the field environment and making sure that that's a safe and engaging place for everyone. So we still have a road to go ahead, but we take it very seriously. We're very dedicated, and it's what makes it rewarding for us.
Thanks, Renee. Okay, any other great questions? Or not so great questions? We'll take those too.
Come on, folks, this is your chance. You have a
Here we go.
there we go.
Helen's jumping in there. Okay. If there was one thing you wish potential grantees, us folks putting in proposals and looking for funding, would do that we aren't already, what would that be? Okay. Program officers, let's see.
Help
Go
us,
ahead, Helen.
you help us.
Yes. Alan, you want to take the first answer?
Okay, I have the glib response and then the more thoughtful response. The glib response is really read solicitations all the way through, if only because it saves you time as well as it saves us time. A lot of answers that we provide to people are provided in the solicitations. And so I'm being glib, but also saying like, you can hopefully keep moving yourself forwards by taking, you know, search for that keyword in the solicitation or whatever else to keep that moving forward. We do love to talk to potential PIs. So I don't mean that in a way like don't talk to your program officer or anything like that, just as a, hopefully you can keep your ideas moving forward faster without needing to wait for an email back from us. And then the other thing that I wish that we would see is people, we see this sometimes, but even more so, like get even more creative with how you fit your ideas into the solicitations and opportunities that NSF provides, right? That we say this all the time, that we want to support the best science. And there are lots of different tracks for how that can happen, but sometimes those tracks aren't a good match for what the best science that you come up with is. So like, see what the closest match might be, or send along some of those ideas and we can work with you to see where those ideas might fit. And sometimes that means like jamming the square peg into the round hole and making it work to get that best science funded. So I think oftentimes the community, you know, responds to solicitations, but we can also, the community can also push those solicitations and opportunities forwards with your ideas.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, I'm a big fan of concept papers. I'll cut to you in a second, Erica, sorry. Big fan of concept papers that you can sort of revise and refit to different solicitations or different things we're looking for. So keep those, you know, in your back pocket. And the other thing is if you can't find the answers in the solicitation, they're often in the PAPG. So I, back to my teaching days, love to respond to PIs saying, well, the answer is on page whatever in the PAPG, and refer them back there because you can sometimes find it. So always look there first as well before you come to us, but don't hesitate to talk with us. So it's kind of strange mixed message, but I think you get the point. Go ahead, Erica.
And the PAPG is our proposal and award policies and procedures guide. It's really intimidating, but you can search by topic or subject. What do I wish? I wish people would pay more attention to their data management plans and make sure their data management plans adhere to the OPP policy. We have to turn those back a lot for revision because they're not compliant. The other thing I would wish is for folks to reach out to us before they submit so that we know it's coming. And to carefully consider letters of collaboration. If you're working in a community, if you have a project that relies on resources in a community, or you're planning to cooperate with a community, you really need to have a letter of collaboration that demonstrates that. We're happy to advise on how to go about that. Thanks.
Excellent. Roberta, did you have your hand up?
Yes, and I did, but what I was going to raise has already been said by Alan and Erica. I was going to emphasize the talk to us early part, just because it really sort of prepares us well for the ideas and the concepts that are being developed. A lot of time, well, not a lot of time, but in my experience, I'm surprised when a new proposal pops into my workflow from someone who had not communicated to me about their ideas, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But I really wish, a lot of our job is customer service and technical assistance. Yes, we're all very busy, but I don't think we're all that scary. I think most of us are fairly approachable and accessible. Sort of reminds me when I was in an academic position, office hours. I was surprised at the lack of interest and engagement. Students think my doors are open. You want to come talk to me, learn, just ask questions and really sort of fresh out some ideas. That's what we're here for. So really encourage folks to take advantage of that. But don't abuse us too much. But do talk to us early on.
Thanks, Roberto. Kayla, I see your hand up, but I want to two things quickly. I want to go to some of the comments in the chat, but before I do, you reminded me that I used to tell people when I first started working with NSF a little over 10 years ago. Prior to that, when I was a researcher, I was terrified of talking to NSF program officers. I thought, they're just really intimidating. And I think that's a common thing. And so I just tell people, we're just like you guys. We're really regular people dealing with the same life challenges, like what to eat for dinner, dragging ourselves to work in the morning, that kind of stuff. So we're not actually, we don't have any superpowers or anything. And again, we're scientists. We might be socially awkward. I know I am, but otherwise we're just regular people too. So keep that in mind. I want to go over here. Colleen put something in the chat, and I want to ask you to expand on that about the letter of collaboration.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate Erica's comments on that kind of reinforce what we talked about earlier. And, the other thing I just wanted to reinforce was if you're working with the community, I think all too often we see perhaps a letter of collaboration, but no budget at all to support their very valuable time and expertise, and to work with work with them just as you would any of your other university-based collaborators. They might want a subaward to support their knowledge holders or their support staff, a polar bear guard. And so if you have a letter of collaboration, you plan to work with a community, you say you're going to rely on them for all of this information and knowledge, they should be compensated appropriately, just like you would any of your other colleagues. So just wanted to reiterate that point.
Thank you. And Renee put a note in there about serving as a reviewer whenever possible. And that's really working with us to go through this, review process of merit and broader impacts. And we really appreciate that. But that's working alongside of us to make sure that we're funding the best science. So thanks, Renee, for that reminder. Kana is talking about the IARPC mentorship program. And yes, it's a fantastic program. And thank you for putting that in there. And Kayla, you had your hand up, so I wanted to give you a chance to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Most other folks covered what I was going to say. I was just really going to reiterate that we're not scary. And as someone who's early career, take it from me, nobody here is scary. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you have. I know that it's intimidating. The very first time I emailed some scientist about data from a paper, I was like, what do you mean I can just email them? They're like a god, basically. But no, we're all just people and we do want to help you. So everybody has said that. I don't need to talk too much longer, but that's all.
Thank you. All right, we're down to the last minute of the hour. So one last call for questions or comments. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up. Liz, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks to all of our presenters and everyone who asked questions and participated. Just to reiterate, I will be posting the recording, the slides, and all of the links that were in the chat to the website hopefully by the end of the day, but if not, you'll definitely see it up there tomorrow. So if you missed anything, you can check it out there. You can also, in these last 30 seconds, click the 3 dots in the bottom of your chat box and hit save chat if you want to just download all of the links there. But thank you all for attending. Please do sign up for an IARPC collaborations account if you don't already have one so that you can be in a loop for future events. Have a great day.
Thanks all.